What's up guys, Phantom here back with episode 6 of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode here with Minority as we are going to the Spanish Grand Prix on the 7th, but first we have a G-Force training on the 5th and the 6th there for a 2-day training session as we will move on to facilities here as we have $3.5 million in the bank, so we will use it to buy a speed time increase on our chassis. So now we're down to $1.5 million as we are behind now Haas and Alfa Romeo still, as we will be getting in a drivetrain and a chassis upgrade in a few weeks, but they will not be on the car for the Spanish Grand Prix here as our gearbox is really bad. We probably won't make it through Spain, so we will have to take a grid penalty and replace it, as we won't be able to get through, as we actually have a second sponsorship deal available now, as we will use Tone, as it should be pretty easy to pass there. As you can see, our money went way down there as we go to advance the week here, as we are starting on a Monday, and for some reason we're gonna be starting on a Thursday and not a Friday, as we will move to qualifying. As we start here out in qualifying, as we will most likely start from the very back of the field, as we won't be able to make it through the race with the gearbox, so we'll have to replace it. But as we go through Q1 here, as we are around, not one of my favorite tracks. Spain's not been historically good for me, as it's really a very terrible track like it is in real life. As we cross the line, and we will end up in a pretty average, I would say, 18th. It's not really that great, as we will move on to the race now.
Welcome along then to what promises to be another fascinating Spanish Grand Prix. A race which saw Max Verstappen win on his first ever appearance with the Red Bull team in 2016. This after the dramatic coming together of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg on the first lap. Will we see more moments for the scrapbook here today? It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the 730-metre sprint down to turn 1 of this 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging through these 16 corners, but there's still a lot of high-speed excitement to be found, including the flat-out turn 3 and the terrifying blind right of turn 9. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Let's have a chat about McLaren. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Norris and Lance Stroll, Ocon, Raikkonen, Roman Grosjean and Magnussen, Gasly, Giovinazzi, Daniel Kvyat and George Russell, Latifi, Perez, Raghunathan and the owner-driver rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
As we sit here on the grid in P22 after our grid penalty, as we are behind the GOAT himself, Raghunathan, as we get off the line pretty badly there, as our second and third gears help make up for the deficit, as we kind of stall out here in 7th gear. As we look down the inside, quickly almost ran into the back of Perez there, who's also got a grid penalty there, as we've now backed down the last there, as we did not get off that corner at all, as we just completely understeer off of turn 3 there. As we come down to turn 4, we're trying to find the best way to make up positions here from last. We think about the outside, but we quickly move to the inside there, and once again, kind of like turn one, we barely managed to avoid Perez braking there, as once again we were behind Ragunathan there, as this is pretty embarrassing that we are behind the number 2 driver, and very, let's just say, interesting number 2 driver at that, as we almost lose the back end there as we come to the hairpin, and this will make up a bunch of positions as we kind of ease out Latifi there to the outside there a little bit, as we lose the back end over that awkward, terrible hump there that I really should never be there. As we come into the pits at the end of lap 6, as we weren't really able to gain positions there, as we come into the pits, as it is a pretty long pit, pretty boring, not too much to do, as we see already cars coming out there. Raikkonen, as we exit the pit lane, as we re-enter in the 21st place, as we come on to the next lap here, as we will take a pretty decent amount of positions back, as that is Giovinazzi out there, who we've come back to. As you can just see here, we just can't catch up to them with our Honda engine, as we come on the lap 9, as there seems to be a slow car off, and I think that is Ricardo there. Yes, it is, as the game confirms it for us, as we come through the chicane area. He's already lost power here, but as we come to the exit of the chicane, Sainz coming around will hit him and lose his end plate there. As you can see, it looks like his teammate also hit it. As we come onto lap 10 here, as we are really looking at Giovinazzi right now, as we are trying all we can, because really the corners are our best shot here, as we definitely won't get it done on the straight there. As you can just see, we're just so slow as Sainz pits because of the lack of front wing he has on the left, which is the most important part of the wing to have, as a lot of corners, or all the fast corners, are to the right, as we dive down the inside of Giovinazzi here as he comes back onto us, as we go side by side here, but we will have the corner, the inside of the corner there, as we come on the lap 17. Lewis Hamilton does win the Spanish Grand Prix, who's really kind of struggled this season here. As we come out of the final corner, we cannot catch up to Grosjean here, as we will finish in P15 here at Spain.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Another Spanish Grand Prix is over, and what a special race it was. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. More points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I'm going to give it to the owner-driver today. They pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.